we're just going to go ahead and I'm going to record this to be able to share because a lot of people can't join because of the time zone. And so really today's session is, you know, a chance to get together and see where people are in the world and hear that people are still surviving and thriving and all that, but also to kind of dream about the future. So we don't know when this is going to happen, but we do know, as we've discussed. So this is the 15th day since I've been back in Australia, which is officially my day when I'm allowed to leave my house. So yay, I didn't get sick, and yay, I get to walk out of my house today. And it's those little things, and just the idea of being able to walk out of my house is just bringing me so much joy. I think the idea of being able to travel again at the end of this is going to bring people so much joy. I think people are going to be so eager to just go anywhere, really, but probably to the places that they have always been thinking in the back of their minds, like, someday I'm going to go. And I feel like people might suddenly feel like, oh, I have to go because maybe maybe that won't be something I can do when I want to. So if you've got those kind of products that you're sort of taking people to some of those kinds of destinations in particular, I think now's the time to really kind of get them hooked into the idea of it, even if you can't take a booking now. And so that's part of what we're going to talk about, is just collecting expressions of interest at this stage. So just, building up your list. But also, of course, we've got the opportunity to run some virtual experiences, which a number of people are testing out, including Liesl. So actually, sorry, I didn't introduce myself. I'm Jennifer Fine, and I'm the founder of YouLive to Travel. And we are a platform that makes it easy to organize group travel experiences, and also now virtual experiences. And Liesl is a phenomenal retreat organizer and coach, and she's actually just successfully delivered a huge retreat in Fiji with Elizabeth Gilbert. So she was really lucky to get that done right before.
Thank goodness.
So yeah, Liesl, please introduce yourself.
So as Jen said, my name's Liesl Albrecht, and my business is called The Retreat Specialist. So we run retreats all around the world, and in this crazy climate have just had to start to put them online, which is a very different experience for all of us as retreat facilitators, but also for guests, because they can do it from the comfort of their own couch or bed, whatever they choose, but it's all about giving an experience. Yeah.
All right. Well, as I kind of go through, so I'm going to sort of walk you guys through how our software can let you organize, like sort of do the dreaming as well as doing the virtual ones. And we're actually going to use Liesl's upcoming virtual retreat as an example of one of the ways that you can do that. And so, we'll be talking to Liesl about kind of her thoughts on, that pivot, right? So it's sort of taking that concept of offline experiences and sort of taking them into the virtual. I don't think anybody's figured that out yet. I think a lot of people are exploring and kind of discovering what that looks like. So, part of this is also for you guys to be thinking for yourselves, are you going to be pausing and just putting content out there for the future, sort of dreaming for the future? Or are you going to try doing a little bit of pivot towards testing out some virtual experiences? And either way, we can support you in that, but, and it depends on your product, and it depends on whether or not you want to attempt a pivot to online. And is there any questions? Is there anything anyone wants me particularly to cover, or any question you want me to address before I get started?
So far, so good. That's what I'm here for.
Awesome. Okay. So let's just share my screen. So here, can everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
Great.
Positive. I have a slow connection, Jen. Sorry. So I'll just take the video off, just so, because that helps me hear you guys better.
Yeah, perfect. And anyone who is having trouble with the connection, if you stop your video, that can really help on your side in terms of reducing bandwidth. So let's see, I'm just going to chat. So yeah, not a problem. If you need to turn your video off, go for it.
Thank you.
So, so this is what the YouLi platform, so You Live to Travel is our company and YouLi is our product. This is what the dashboard looks like when you log in. So I'm just doing this out of our retreat demo account on the Future Ready package, which is a package that we just launched this week. And it's basically a really cost-effective way for you to do exactly what I'm going to show you how to do today. So I'm going to kind of showcase 3 different kinds of trips. So there is this example, which is Liesel's A Weekend of Bliss. This is a virtual trip with actual dates and with, you can actually take bookings on that for that virtual experience. You can, of course, during this time, and we've seen this with many people, especially if they already have private groups going, they're just scheduled for next year and they're just holding those to be for next year. So they're still handling that and preparing for that because it can take an entire year to prepare a large group to go on an experience. So just showing you an example that you can sort of take registrations for those experiences. And you can even pause payments on that if you need to, just in case you need to sort of change the dates or if people are uncomfortable. So that's kind of the collection of interest around a particular date, so you can still do that. And then, of course, just dreaming for the future where you're sort of thinking about, well, it's a 7-day trip and it's next year, but you don't have dates yet. And maybe you're not doing registrations, maybe you are, but you're just sort of putting that out there so that people can dream of doing a 7-day Jordan experience with you. So, so I'm just going to jump into this one really quickly to start. And so when you're inside YouLi, you're making trips. And so as I mentioned, those 3 trips, no matter which one you click into, you're working within the same dashboard inside, and you can manage your itinerary here. And so you can work with this itinerary on a day-by-day basis. So you don't have to have set dates, right? So you can build an entire itinerary with day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. So for example, in our Petra by Night experience, that's set to day 3. Now that's how you build it when you're dreaming. And then when you're ready and like, okay, it's time to actually go, and you're ready to set those dates, you're gonna switch it from an approximate date and you're gonna set that as an actual date. So you're gonna set that, let's say, okay, now I've got my dates locked in, it can start March 3rd, and it's gonna go to March 10th, and then we save that. And then it's going to tell you that it's going to change all of your dates on your itinerary to be day 1, day 2, etc. So all of a sudden, it changes everything that we've created from day 1, day 2 into actual dates. And so this is kind of what we mean about being future ready, that you can actually have these dream trips that are set to day 1, day 2, day 3. And then as soon as you know your dates, then you can make that one change and everything updates. And your pages that are published also update automatically. And so those automatically show you on the trip pages all your days. So when we talk about dream trips, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about setting all that content up in your itinerary for your trip pages, and then being able to finalize those dates and finalize your price in the future. Any quick questions on that before I jump into the virtual trip?
I'm good with that.
No.
I've got my dream trips.
Yeah, so Karen actually has this well set up, I would say, in terms of, kind of that day by day kind of model. And one of the things you can do, of course, is you can copy them. So once you've done it once, you just copy it, change the dates. And so you can, once that boom hits and you're doing lots and lots and lots of those itineraries, you just really quickly copy those, set the dates, and then start getting people to register. So the way the registration works is the same across the board, but we're gonna use the virtual retreat as that example to really dig into that. So here we've got an example of a trip that actually has dates, but notice that it doesn't have locations. This isn't in Jordan. And so in this case, we've said location provided after registering. You can put the Zoom link there if you want to. You can say home if you want to. So it's really flexible that you can indicate the location as being virtual, for example. So whatever language you're using to explain that, you can change the trip location. It doesn't have to actually be a location. So if we save that, and now I'm just going to really quickly show you what this looks like. So I'm viewing the trip page that I've built in advance for this ultimate retreat experience. And I've used all of Liesel's language here. It says permission granted because it's about taking that time for yourself. And it's the title of the event. And then here you can see that the location is virtual. It's 3 days, here's the dates, and here's the price. In this case, we've highlighted the hosts and the reason for joining, and then we've put the details of the itinerary here. And so this is all the same as you would do with a real world experience, but it's just virtual. And so obviously the price is a little bit different. And so when we look at the pricing and we see $65, well, it's pretty reasonable for 3 days. And then we can book in from here. So we're just gonna register. And one of the great things that you can do with this is that you can actually allow them to register more than one person at the same time. And you can ask any question you want on that first registration form. And then you always want to make sure your consents are still proper, because that continues to be true even in this time. Privacy and terms and conditions are very important. So I've set all of this up beforehand, and I'm just showing you how this looks. So if Tanya's registering with her friend Kim, then she is going to be able to pay for her friend and manage all that with her. And that makes it really easy for people to kind of book together. So this is really nice if you know that people are going to be, bringing friends along. And you can control whether or not you allow people to book together or you block that. So here you've got, again, this is completely dependent on Liesel. This is the language that she chooses to provide here. And I've got just a generic demo here, but this will be her logo once she makes this live. So now that we've registered, now we've captured Tanya's email address. So that information is now all in the system, and Tanya is going to be reminded to do things. For example, if she doesn't pay immediately, she'll be reminded to pay. So here you can see she's going to be paying for Tanya and Kim, and she can pay by credit card, or I'm going to just show you really quickly. What Liesel can do is she can actually come in here, and if Kim or Tanya has actually just sent her money, she can, like a bank transfer or something, she can actually put that in here as a payment. So she can record that payment has been made through another channel, and then she can, oops, sorry, I'm just checking the chat. Yeah. So now you can see that Tanya, so I didn't check out the way that Tanya and Kim would, because then I'd have to pay $130. So I've just marked that as paid. So now we see that they've paid, and now that means they can see who else is registered. So they've paid, and now they can see who else is going on this experience with them. And they also get access to their tasks. So they get the ability to be reminded of like this upcoming weekend and really connect with the people that are going to be there. Is a little reminder to make sure that your Zoom works in advance. We also have the ability to load this up in the mobile app. We're not really sure that's going to make sense for virtual experiences. but that is something that is available in the Future Ready package. So something that everyone gets to choose. So again, all of this is configurable. So I've just given you this like really quick rundown of like all the stuff that you can offer, is that simultaneously they can get excited about what it is that you're offering. They can get the details of the day by day. And once they've registered and paid, they can see who else is going, although you can also hide that if you want. On the invoice, they can pay that way, or you can control behind the scenes. You can also give people special prices. So maybe you set your virtual price to be $150 per person, but then you offer a coupon or you offer a discount, and you can apply that on the back end, or you can give that out as a coupon code. So we know that this is all new, and we know that people are kind of testing out what the price point is. So the fact that you can control per person pricing is really valuable here. So you can put one public one out, but then you can actually give individual people special prices. And then the task part of this is really important. I think, you know, as you noticed when we joined this call, like trying to get people set up and get people working, if you've got people booked in, you know, for a retreat that's 2 weeks from now, make sure that they're taking that time to ensure that their technology is working. Because that's not the way you want to get started with an event, is sort of like troubleshooting all of that. You want to be doing that in advance. So this can really help you know who to, you know, like if they don't check this box and complete it, you might reach out to them directly and be like, hey, should we just do a little Zoom check? And do that in advance. So it just really helps you ensure that people are engaged, and also that people don't drop off, so that people do actually attend. And that's why having these set up with reminders, because these will automatically contact them and tell them that these are coming. So it's a way of kind of keeping them excited for the event. You could even put in a task to invite a friend and include the link. So once you've built one of these trips, you can copy the public link here. You can post that out on social media to get registrations. Or you can, if you're sharing this with individuals, you can actually grab their individual one as well. So here you can see all the people that are going. You can actually grab their link and send it to them. But that's some of the more advanced functionality. The thing I really want you guys to be thinking about is that you can create these trip pages to create whatever experience you need. So maybe you are running a virtual experience that's free. So then you're actually going to change that from a finalized price to an estimated price and say free, for example. And then you're just running a test, and you're just kind of giving them access when they register to the Zoom link or to whatever mechanism that you're delivering that on. So now if we take a look at what that looks like, now you can see that it says it's free. And now it doesn't, you know, yeah, you'll want to change this to not say that you have to pay, but then it won't prompt them to pay. It'll just prompt them to register their interest. So the trip pages are really, really flexible, and you can actually change them along the way. So you could launch it as an expression of interest, for example. So let's say Liesl wasn't quite ready yet. She didn't want to take bookings because maybe she doesn't have all of her hosts locked in. So she could actually change this button to say, instead of book now, she could say express interest. And this is how you can sort of collect that interest before you're ready to take bookings. And so this is what you would want to do on your dream trips as well. You can change that label to saying anything like dream or register, or if you want to put it in another language, you can do that as well. Generally, we find express interest is one that people use a lot. You can also say, you know, where are you in lockdown? Like if you want to kind of put something in there to kind of engage with people on it. And the decline button is just if you do an invitation to people. So if you change that button, that registration button, then when someone clicks on that link, so this is that public link again, when someone clicks on that, let's say you put it out on your social media, let's say you embed it on your website. So now it says express interest. So now when you click in, it's the same registration form. You're capturing their information and you get to decide when you activate that. So if you're doing it as a collection of interest rather than collecting bookings, then you control when you communicate to them about that. And so if it's a dream trip, then you're probably just going to message them as once you set a date. If it's a free experience, then you're going to want to be messaging them right away to let them know, you know, what's involved in the free, just making sure that they're understanding what this virtual free experience is about, right? So once you capture their registrations, they are now here in your list. So now you've got this list of people and you can send them messages from within the system, or you can export them and pull them into another marketing platform if you're doing that. But you now have this list of people who you know have interest in this product that you've built. So whether that's for a virtual experience or whether that's for a dream trip that's somewhere way off in the future, you now know these people really care about this product and want to know more from you. So that's a really powerful segmentation is what we call it in marketing, because now instead of sending out a mass message about this, you can actually send a message that says, all right, guys, we've locked in the dates. We're going on these dates. And you can just select all and send message, and you're talking to people that you know are interested in that product. All right, I've done a whole bunch of talking. So now I just want to pause and ask if anybody wants me to go back over something or to go deeper on anything.
Yeah, so far so good. So for me, anyway.
Any questions in terms of running the virtual side of this? Like right now, I think right now running a, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Please, Jen, just elaborate on that more. Is it like sort of coaching kind of retreat, or do you bring like the experiences from the country that you used to do and everything was normal into that kind of in a way, or?
Well,
Yeah,
and I think that totally
elaborate on
depends
this
on your
a bit.
product. That's a great question. Sorry, if I understood correctly, you're asking how do you deliver a virtual experience? And I think
Yes, please.
yeah, and that's actually something that we really want to be exploring with our clients right now. So what Liesl is doing is basically creating a virtual space. So she's locking out time here. And actually, Liesl, I don't want to speak for you in terms of this. Do you want to kind of talk to how you're planning on delivering?
Yeah. Yeah, this one that you've actually got up is a trial one, just to check, you know, the format and the timing and all of that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as far as what we're delivering, it is really the same as you would organise a normal retreat, is to look at what your clients want. So for me, this is about connection, self-development, finding some balance in navigating what we're going through at the moment, whereas I've got other facilitators who are doing business type retreats. So for the weekend, it's all about an aspect of business, or it's, you know, I've got another one up that's all about colour and you know, that spiritual side of colour. I've got another one that's about meditation. So whatever it is your particular clients need is what is the best theme for your weekend, or however long the virtual retreat is. And I think by, you know, knowing who your ideal client is in this is so important, because then you can translate that to being online.
Yeah, and I think that the method of delivery, so I think you're doing this over Zoom, is that correct?
Yeah, so we're using Zoom at this point in time. We are looking at what other platforms there are to use that can then break people off into rooms and have networking and that sort of thing. So we're looking at, you know, what will work for that. But for this one, it's Zoom. It'll be straight, you know, discussions over that one space. We're looking at about 10 people, 10 to 20.
Yep.
So just so we can see, that structure of, Friday night, this is what we're going to do. We're going to come in, we're going to have some, prompt everybody to have some drinks and some cheese and, all that indulgent stuff that hopefully we can get at the supermarket still. But, that format of like you do on a normal retreat or a normal tour, like introducing yourselves, finding out, why you've come along for the weekend, those sorts of things. And then the next day it's broken down into 2 workshops. And
and so I think one of the things I'm noticing is that the people for whom travel was a mechanism to kind of take people out of their day-to-day so that they were more open to new connections or to new learning, I think those are going to move online more easily because there's a bit of an educational component there, which you don't have to travel to do it. It's just that when you travel to do it, it makes it easier to disconnect from your normal reality.
Yeah.
And so I found that our clients that do educational experiences with travel are the ones who are moving most quickly into virtual. And I think it's the destination travel that is the hardest to translate.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Can I just jump in, Jen, on that note?
Yeah.
Because that's sort of, I literally this morning I signed up for Escape Haven in Bali's. They're running a virtual retreat, just what you've just been outlining now. And like you said, it's got workshops and educational components. What I've been thinking out, because mine are more destinational, is how to turn them virtual.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking, it's good to bounce these ideas off a group like this, like especially because the ones in Bali is asking my contacts in Bali to do little short videos introducing themselves and sort of welcoming them into what we would have been doing, sort of thing. But it's trying to get those ideas for the destinations and still having that, capturing that interest for that.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I'm expecting there is like that the destination ones, you'll create dream experience kind of things, and then you'll start testing the idea of running like a virtual trip teaser. So you would actually take them on a version of this. So one of my ideas, and I would love to work with somebody to kind of see if this could work out, is that you would actually schedule so that day one, it's arrival in Amman. So you schedule it for 9 a.m. and you have your guide in Amman, like walking them around in Amman. And now I don't know if that's possible to do in this day and age. Like, can you even have a guide out? Actually, Jordan's probably the wrong one, because I think you can be arrested for being on the streets. But can you do interactive? Can you do it such that, just like Liesel's retreat, where there are activities happening in real time? It's not just a canned video, but it's actually real humans. Can the destinations actually take their itineraries, make a modified version, and have their people on the ground actually talking to them, either from home and telling their stories, or maybe even walking in some of those destinations, which will be a little bit different, but in a way that's kind of interesting as well, because I think people do want to see what's going on in the world, and not just from the news, but like actually see real people. So I would love to work with somebody who wants to test that out, to kind of convert this into a real-time mini day-by-day experience that you pay a small fee for. I don't know, Gina, what are your thoughts in terms of that kind of thing?
Yeah, that's sort of, but I think especially with the lockdowns at the moment, like here in New Zealand, that's just not going to happen unless you can find a person that's exactly in the location, e.g., just for an example, Cathedral Cove. unless you can find a local in Cathedral Cove to take you on that virtual walk around.
Yeah.
I think like right at this particular moment, they'll be really hard. Like what I was thinking, to e.g. for the barley ones with the the businesses I work for, because a lot of them are home based, they could just do like a welcome, this is our home and this is where you would be coming to do, say, a cooking class or something. So they're doing it in that location that they're in. But I think getting out and about, that will be the hardest thing. But what you touched on, the personal side of it, like quite often we don't, like a lot of the local guides, they're doing all the, the guiding, but we don't really get to know them on a personal level. So that could be another, how they're coping, during this time, different angle on it.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be the human side of it more than the destination side of it for the virtual experiences. And I've had some conversations with like around like virtual wine tastings, and to kind of create something for those destinations to sell some kind of experience. But what we're finding is in the end, it's about that connection. It's about those people kind of coming together around a shared passion. And so I think trying to find that, and I think getting more in touch with those local guides, and like you said, making it a little bit more about those human stories might be the right way to test. Whether or not you can charge for that is something like we're still trying to figure out. You might be able to charge a small amount just as a like, look, this will help those guides or something kind of. I have seen a lot of people sort of wanting to support local businesses or support businesses. So you might be able to kind of promote it that way, which is just to say, hey, look, just to help us out a little bit, it's a $20 fee, and we facilitate, lots of conversations over 2 weeks or something like that. And we're all definitely discovering this. I think my favorite example for the wine tasting was that you would book in for a 4-week flight. So every Thursday you would join. And so then you have something to look forward to. And one of the other ideas was to sort of ship products to match. So if you're doing a virtual experience, if you can match it to a product, then you would ship those in advance. That works for consumables. I don't know, every destination might have a different thing. If part of your destination is people who are making crafts, like when I was in Morocco, like so much of that experience was seeing the local products being made. And if what they can facilitate is sort of like what you buy is basically like a little gift pack from Morocco that has like a piece of tile and a scarf and some of those kinds of things, and then actually it's an opportunity to see in the workshops and and see the people that are there and have that sort of trip teaser experience. It's not the same. And it's
that would be lovely, Jen.
Yeah.
Just I don't know if you guys are if you watch the news or see what's going on here, but here basically like all of Morocco has been closed. So like no borders, nobody comes in, nobody goes out. Like you guys would need just to go to the groceries, you need to show a paper like a permit just to get out. So like nobody can basically meet each other unless they're staying in their homes with their families, or those lucky ones who manage to find like a nice place to stay.
Yeah. And so some of these ideas might not work until like 3 months from now. It might be
not so easy to find people to do like things like especially with artisanal products. They're all basically confined. How is it, guys? How is it in Australia or New Zealand or any other country?
I'll speak for New Zealand. We're just on our eighth day, no, eighth day of lockdown now. Problem is, I don't think some people are taking it serious enough. So the more people that keep getting out and about, it's actually going to drag this on longer, and that's what I'm more concerned about. I just see one of the big publishers here in New Zealand has literally just shut its doors. So that's a lot of major magazines like Women's Day, New Zealand Women's Weekly, Next, they're all gone. Flight Centre has shut a lot of shops. In New Zealand's laid off 3,400 staff. So the economical hit we're going to get is going to be huge, and I'm really concerned about that. And it's like, I think, when is this going to stop? Because we might contain it and another country might contain it, but then unless the US does, unless, you know, other countries, I think this is where we all got to work together. And I think there's no end in sight at the moment, or how that end is going to be looking.
I do think it's actually going to be a very scattered recovery. So it's going to be, you know, New Zealand might be safe to travel inside, but maybe you can't travel into it, you know, without being tested or having a vaccine or something like that. And I think it'll be really interesting to navigate that. I think travelers, when it does open back up again, will be looking for guidance. And I think that's where people like us actually provide a lot of value, because we're going to be keeping on top of it and very aware. And, you know, we know people in the local place that we can say, yes, you know, people are arriving, they are going on tours, we promise it's going to happen. You know, so we can say, yes, Bhutan is open, even though the neighboring country is not, for example. And so that will definitely be part of the confusion, but I also think that's part of our value in this, because it's going to be really hard to find that information generically online, because you won't be able to trust the content. You won't know how old it is, you won't know how valid it is, or if it changed yesterday. Like, that was my experience when I was in South America. Like, you know, one day it was fine, and the next day, you know, we could barely cross the border, and the day after that you couldn't cross it at all, and it just changed like that. And you know, and so I think when I was watching, we were just out on public buses, we were just doing our own trip, but there were people who were with tour companies, and they were getting across the border, and they were being taken care of in a way that us on the public bus were just like, oh no, I don't speak Spanish, what's happening? Right? So I think actually people will be booking into experiences that are guided, because it will give them that extra level of comfort that that they'll be told if it should be
the same.
Or they'll be taken care of. Like, you know, you're not just going to be stranded by yourself, you're going to be with people who are in it with you, and able to you know, manage whatever comes. So I think that's one aspect in terms of selling on the other side of this. But yeah, we don't know. We don't know when that's going to happen. We do think that local is going to, so basically local and virtual is going to be a big thing. Because I think even as we start opening up, I think it's going to be tricky to get flights, and I think it's going to be more expensive to get them.
Yeah, I've been trying to transfer some of my flights to January, and I can't do it. And I've had my flights for September cancelled already, even though there's a chance, you know, September the trip might go ahead.
Yeah.
It's been cancelled, so.
Right, and I think airlines are going to be the hardest thing to get back up, you know, and I think that's one of the things, like those of us with the smaller businesses, you know, we can kind of, you know, we can kind of get moving a little bit faster on the other side of this, but, you know, running an international airline, like, you know, that's not an easy thing to shut down and start back up again. So, we're definitely at that mercy, which is why we're really focused on trying to help you guys figure out how to create virtual experiences, which ultimately will become what we call trip teasers. Kind of like, even when you can travel, maybe you sort of have these virtual experiences just to know that you want to go, or just to get excited to go. So I'd really, our focus is really going to be on helping you guys figure out how to create those kinds of real-time interactive virtual experiences that's good for now, but also good for the future. And because it's a skill, right? It's a skill to create online spaces where you can connect with people, and especially across cultures. I think it'd be pretty amazing. I think it might actually be a really neat thing if we learned how to get our guides, in those places to kind of connect and tell stories and all that. So one of the things we're looking at from a technical perspective is actually embedding video calling within the trip pages. And I'm just curious, so you guys have seen their trip pages, they're for registering interest, they're for taking payments, they're for managing like educational material and tasks. What if you could run your experiences in there directly, so you didn't have to push people out into Zoom or out into Facebook or something like that?
Well, I would have to say we'd love it, Jen.
Oh, okay.
But we don't have the technology because of the nature of what Tony does. Of course, it's singing.
Yep.
We've seen virtual choirs now; they're all happening.
Yeah.
But to do it live and have people interact in a cappella doesn't really work. There's a lag time, so there's no technology yet that can manage the lag that happens over the internet. And I've heard this with Zoom as well, because of our clients are 40 to 55, 60. It's a challenge when you've got that many people feeding into the same Zoom feed. It starts to have problems. We just had to go pro last night. We're just sampling virtual groups at the moment.
Yeah.
But we definitely have to mute everyone else, which is a bit bizarre for a choir director to be singing on his own and having them all in their own home singing. So, people come together in a choir because they want their personal interaction, and you lean on someone else when you sing.
Yeah.
As a choir. So that's challenging. At the same time, we've reframed that and said, it's great to get the strength up and singing and getting your own confidence in singing when you're on your own in your own living room.
Yeah.
So there's pros and cons to everything, but we're hanging out for someone to come up with a technical ability.
So for you, it's the real time, like literally real time,
yes.
Is what you need. I'm afraid that might actually be a physics problem, which is that sound takes too long to travel over that distance.
Well, that's what I thought about when you were saying virtual trips. Then you have to, aren't you worried about, like, you've got time frames that if you have someone walk through a city, then you've got time issues with everyone. Like, I'm just not sure how it works.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's not natural. I think it's not something that we're immediately clear on. And I think the ones that translate quickest are the educational ones, because you take the educational content and you digitize that, and you can still do that sort of virtual. Yeah. And I think it's the experience, like, that's still not there. And the question is, do we just, there's a part of it that we just accept that and we say,
yes,
that's not what this is. And I think we think of these as being ways of staying in touch, staying strong, staying connected, rather than trying to make them the same. I think it's just about reminding people that this is there, reminding people why they'll want to travel again, and keeping people connected in those places as well, connected to you. So, keeping those connections alive with your operators and things like that. Like, we will be coming. There are people who are waiting, and it's sort of about kind of building up that demand, that pent up demand, and collecting that. I think is probably more accurate as to what it would be. But I'm also really curious to test out this idea of kind of like virtual physical experiences where you actually get something shipped to your house as part of that experience. I think those might actually be quite successful in getting people kind of engaged, because when you're stuck at home, it's like you're so excited to get something in the mail, and then you know, and I don't know how that translates into the musical side of that, or whether or not there's a component that that can be made physical and shippable. But that's definitely where a lot of conversations I've been having recently is around, to get people to book into the virtual experience, you include a physical product that gets shipped to fans. Yeah, it's the most popular one so far. So we've been having conversations with like Red Balloon, and they said that the most popular searches right now are wine experiences, gin, whiskey, and craft beer. So I think if you can kind of create a virtual experience that has that component to it, then you might have an easier time of putting a price tag on it, because it's a little clearer to sell. I recognize that has its own set of challenges. But those are some of the ideas that are being floated around. And if you and one of the things that YouLi allows you to do when you make your trip page, you could make that optional. So you could say, do you want wine shipped, or are you just going to bring your own wine? So you could kind of make that a thing that they select, and that maybe adds on to the price. So maybe it's free, but if they purchase the wine, then that's, you know, $50. And they know that's a markup, but that's like, you know, them helping you out and being part of that whole thing. You know, because think about it, like we would go to restaurants and pay $50 for a bottle of wine, right? So those are some ideas of maybe testing that out, and so you can have people put in their address if they select that product, for example. And so if anybody wants to try out that idea and needs some help on setting that up, please, you know, reach out to us, because we're talking to a lot of people about running various kinds of virtual experiences and about embedding the video in and integrating that physical delivery component along with it. And we want to build it so that that's something that's interesting even beyond this. Because I think it could be. It won't be all the time. People will still want to travel, but imagine if you could deliver that to people who can't travel for various reasons, either financial or physical or something like that, and being able to let people, you know, come together virtually. Like if we get really good at this, we might find we do it more. So after we've spent like an entire year traveling continuously.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyone have any other thoughts or questions on dreaming for the future in terms of generating that demand versus virtual? Like, Karen?
I just like to hear from the other people there, what kind of travel they do and what they're doing, what they're going to be doing in the next few months.
Tony and I, Tony's a choir director. We run a cappella across New Zealand, Australia, and various trips overseas. Italy, America is our big one, because Tony's specialization is gospel. So we do Afro-American tradition and gospel, but we were planning in 21 to go to, you know, Croatia and Africa, just wherever they sing. So we take a group and we meet up with other groups overseas, and we have a repertoire that we work here. So we just started doing, what we're doing now is we just started Zoom with a really small handful of friends to see how it works and to get smarter with it. And he teaches them a song. So we send the song sheet out, and then he teaches the parts live while we drink wine. And that's what we've thought of in the immediate future to keep everyone going. People that know Tony love him in particular. So we have a very small niche market. So if it ever does open up to travel, then we would that was going to be our next project. Like, how do we go bigger? Because we've got a net of a captive audience all over Australia and New Zealand.
Do you think that you'll focus on like local travel first, like if the restrictions are lifted in country?
Yeah, that was our bread and butter. Like, I had like Cairns, Canberra, Newcastle. Tony once a year does 3 months in New Zealand and does Napier, Christchurch, Wellington, Auckland, does all of that. So yeah, that would be obviously the first thing we'd do for bread and butter, but it's the big retreats that we do overseas. We usually do Europe 1 year and then America the next, and they're 3-week trips. And we usually take 40 to 50 people, and it's all based around singing in the a cappella tradition. So the US Gospel Tour is amazing because we do Memphis, Chicago, and New Orleans. But as I said, we were going to do Croatia, go on a boat. You know, we were going to do all different. Africa was going to be amazing. But yeah, they're all parked now, so not sure how we're going to manage what we're doing. Yeah, so that's me.
Anyone else?
Karen, what do you do?
Oh, I run trips to Bhutan.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
How fabulous.
And I'm writing up some new trips so that I can email people and say, you know, I've got these new trips. Yeah, so just some different trips.
I did want to talk to you about taking Tony and a small group to Bhutan. If they sing there, well then I'd love
on the mountaintop.
Yeah, well, we were going to do Northern Lights the year after next as well. That would be amazing.
Bhutan's the best place to visit in the world.
Well, we should stay in touch because definitely, I know that. I think might have been, but I would love to take, our demographic would love that as well. We get a lot of retirees and
Yeah, go sing in some schools or something.
Yeah, that's what we do. We do, you know, locally we go to aged care homes and you see people that have never moved out of their corner. They just, when we sing to them, they get engaged. You know, it's fascinating.
I mean, you know, is that a thing? Like, I don't, again, this is maybe not in the immediate future, but is that something where you can sort of offer that in facilities and say, you know, just take us on your phone and take us around and, you know, like creative kind of ways. And I know this isn't easy, but
no, not easy.
And I suppose that's the other question is, so for example, Get Your Guide is a very large OTA. They're just pausing, like, oh, they're taking bookings for future, but they're not going to pivot to virtual, for example. So some of the big guys are just going to wait and just be part of what comes back. And so I think there's kind of two branches here for travel businesses. You either pause and prepare for what's coming and take this time to collect all your material and change your products and
that's what I'm doing.
Do your marketing plans and you know, maybe you do some virtual experiences, but really just to generate demand for the future products. And then there are people who are going to launch like virtual businesses or like pivot hard into that. And what I've seen, one of our clients is called Hacker Exchange. So they take people from Australia around the world to like Tel Aviv, Singapore, San Francisco to learn about being entrepreneurs. But it's a very educational product. Like you go to connect with people and be inspired by their stories and the energy of those places. But it's also a lot of like introductions to people. So they're pivoting to just cobble that together as a 2-week experience. That's all online. So they've completely restructured their content and their program, and they're going to be launching in the next couple of weeks to do virtual courses, and you know, still charging kind of at a similar level as they were before, but of course you don't have to pay for hotel and flights, so you're just paying for that part. So you know, we'll see how that plays out. I think it depends on your market, and I think destinations, like I said, is going to be the hardest ones. I think if it's purely the physical experience, I think the best you can do is potentially do this like video conversations with the people on the ground once they can do that. Otherwise, it's about taking the content that you've collected over the years. You probably have tons of video on your phone and on your computer that you probably haven't gone through, and maybe finally this is the time to create some of those sort of virtual experiences just to start to keep that demand and build that up, and so that when people are ready to travel, they're on your list for that experience. So those are the ideas that are floating around at the moment. Talk to me again next week. It'll be different.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if anybody is interested in piloting virtual embedded experiences so that they don't have to go out to another system, but that you can actually deliver your real-time virtual content through the platform, let us know, because we're looking for people to test that with. So
yeah, I'd be happy to talk to you about that.
yeah, awesome.
Same here.
Interesting.
I'm hearing lots of yeses. That's good.
Time to write content. It's just, you know, the time where we're just at home, not so much to do. Just think of all the trips that we've been in, and yeah, great times for creativity and stories, maybe some videos.
Well, and along those lines, in terms of making a video, like you could use, you could put a storyboard into YouLi. You sort of put your static images up as your trip highlights, just to kind of like, okay, this is the story that I want to tell. And then you think about, okay, well, where am I going to get that video from? Is that video I already have that I have to find in my archives? Or is that video I need to go out and source, as in, at the point that people are at least allowed outside of their homes in those destinations that they can go out. So one of my dreams about what, like, the silver lining is, like, some of the places are going to be empty that have never been empty before. And so to be able to, see a place, like those videos of Venice with, the clear waterways and the dolphins, like, that's really cool. And so I think if you can be somebody who's sourcing some of that content when it's possible to get that from your local guides and operators or from within your own countries, I think that'll be some really compelling content that will make people kind of excited to be the first ones to go. And it's like, oh, can I be there before the crowds get there? So that's one of my thoughts, but I know that's probably at least a month away for most of us.
Yeah. Our guides are
awesome. I just need to learn some ninja skills.
Yeah, doesn't everyone in Marrakesh know how to, like, run across the roofs? Isn't that like?
I think you mean parkour, right?
Yeah, parkour, exactly. Yeah.
That's definitely something to learn.
That's right. Now is the time to learn parkour. All right. Well, I hope this was helpful.
Just wanted to bring up.
Oh, sorry. Who's that?
Sorry, I just wanted to bring up a question we got regarding the tools to measure the sign up of interest versus actual signups. That's in the chat from Jen.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, the question about measurement tools for sign up of interest versus actual sign up. So yeah, you can see who's registered under managed people, and then you can see who's actually paid under managed payments. So you can, so when you transition from just collecting that list to the point where you're actually driving conversions, you can see that in the managed payments view. You can see how many of those people have actually started making payments. And that's where we're going to be working to really improve, as we figure out, okay, so you're going to be focused not on bookings, but you're going to be focused on collecting demand. And then at some point, you're going to convert that demand into bookings. And so right now we have ways to do that, but I think we could make that better. So yeah, but I think right now we're focused on the front end of that. That's the getting people registering their interest in these experiences. and then converting them into bookings comes, 3 to 6 months from now. The one positive side of this is, it can take a year to plan a good trip. And I know, Jan, that was definitely the case for you, right?
Yeah. Definitely.
So if this is going to take a year to clear, time to start planning.
Definitely.
So, Liesl, do you have another big Fiji type retreat?
Yeah, we do in March in Vietnam. We've got Gabrielle Bernstein as our keynote presenter.
Yep.
So yeah, busy planning that. We just launched when all this kind of happened, but still getting inquiries and all that sort of thing. So just finalising we had a landing page, just finalising the website now. But definitely, anything of substance really does take a year from that thought of, I want to run this retreat or tour or whatever, to actually being there and doing it. Yeah. So now's the perfect time to get everything in place, all the systems, all the, lists and emails and all those sorts of things to get them up and happening.
Yeah, for sure. And I've also got a question here to make a Facebook group to kind of start thinking about these things. If you guys want to join conversations on this, do you want to keep them as these kinds of calls, or would you like to kind of continue a conversation in a group on social media?
Could you then load, if we had a Facebook private group, then load these videos into it as well?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. And if you guys want to kind of share what you're testing out, if you want to, try to get us into a virtual experience and give you feedback, we can certainly be part of that testing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Happy to.
Cool. Thank you.
Put that together.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Amazing, guys. We'll send out this video, and we'll send out a link to the Facebook group, and we'll do more. Probably every week, assuming we can make that work, because I think it is changing week by week. So if anybody wants to sort of use next week as an opportunity to like showcase an idea that they're trying out, that'd be great. Just get in touch, and we'll put it in front of the group and talk about it.
Thanks,
cool.
Jen.
Sounds good.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Guys.
Nice.
Keep the hope up.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Jen.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.